Tales of rape, torture, and even the murders of dozens of boys right here in our own backyard of Marianna, Florida. Hi, I'm Dee Dee Sharp. Welcome to this special edition of The Aware Show, where we focus on the Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys.
This original WSRE presentation is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
Today, tales of horror, torture, and the murders of dozens of children right here in our own backyard of Marianna, Florida. Hi, I'm Dee Dee Sharp, and welcome to this special edition of Aware. The Florida School for Boys, also known as the Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys, opened its doors January 1st, 1900. Dozier was a reform school operated by the state of Florida in the quiet Panhandle town of Marianna, officially nicknamed the City of Southern Charm. Unfortunately, the boys who were incarcerated at Dozier were not recipients of such Southern hospitality. Throughout its 111-year history, Dozier gained a reputation for alleged abuse, beatings, rapes, torture, and even murder of students by the staff. According to some reports, despite periodic investigations, changes of leadership, and even promises to improve, the allegations of brutality and torture continued. The Florida Department of Justice closed Dozier in 2011. But still open are the emotional wounds for scores of boys, now men, who live to tell their stories and the stories of dozens of others buried at Dozier without a voice. Joining me in the studio now are two gentlemen who are survivors of Dozier. They are known as the White House Boys. Mr. Robert Straley is a spokesperson for the White House Boys and has worked tirelessly to organize survivors of Dozier. And next we have Mr. Andrew Puel, who is also known for his efforts to support survivors and be a voice for those who were not so fortunate. Both men have written books about their experiences and are seeking justice for those who were victims of the abuse at Dozier as well. Thank you, two men, for joining us.
Thank
Robert, you. Andrew, for being so courageous to be spokespersons for what happened to you and what you believe happened at Dozier School. We certainly appreciate you for joining us here for the Aware Show to talk to our viewers about what your experiences were, where we are right now with the investigation as far as you know, and any other information you want to share with us on behalf of those who are not able to be here for one reason or the other. I'm going to start with you, Robert. How did you come to be an inmate at Dozier School for Boys?
I kept running away from home. My mother was bipolar and very abusive. I was bipolar. And when I hit puberty, somebody had to go. It wasn't going to be her. And I started running away. And then when I got in the juvenile home, I didn't really care much for it there and ran away from the juvenile home 3 times. On the 3rd time, when they caught me, they put me in a constricted area. And the next thing I knew, I was being put in a van and on my way to Marianna. I looked around and I was struck by the beauty of the place to begin with. I thought it looked like a school or a college campus because there was rows of brick buildings, 4 cottages. They were red brick, and they had plants all the way around them, trimmed. Everything was neatly trimmed. It looked like it had just been mowed. Tall pine trees, elms and oak. It was beautiful, and I thought, gosh, you know, I could stay here.
And once again, how old were you? What year was this?
This was 1963, towards the end of summer. I was 13. I was rather small for my age, weighed 105 pounds. Just missed getting into the little boys' cottage. They put me into Tyler Cottage, which was, I guess, would have been 13 to 15.
So you were with older inmates as well?
I was the smallest boy there, and I could tell it the minute I got in there. They gave us state-issued clothes, which was a white t-shirt, blue pants, and brogans, which was a kind of a boot. And I went into the cottage, and right away the boys started pushing me around, you know, and letting you know where your place was in the pecking order, you know. So I went outside, and there was 4 boys sitting on a bench in state clothes. Now, you could have your own clothes if your parents would send them up. So I went over there and sat next to them. They were talking about running away because all they could see was a woods, you know, and they thought they could just run all night and evade these people and not get caught. And they asked me if I wanted to go, and I said, no, I've been on the run for 3 weeks, and it's not as much fun as you would think. I'm going to stay here a while, you know. However, there was a snitch behind us and turned us in at 8 o'clock that night. Troy Tidwell, it was a one-armed man, and R.W. Hatton, who was a slim man, but one of the worst beaters there. And I believe they took one of the big cottage boys with us in case somebody couldn't hold the bed or something like that. And we were taken into a black sedan and driven over just a block away to the White House. And it was a long, narrow building. You went in a side door. They lined you up against the wall, and then they took you through a doorway. There was a fan up there, a large industrial fan, and they would turn it on. It made a huge racket. I was at the end of the line, which was not good. You wanted to be at the first of the line to get in and get it over with. Otherwise, you were going to hear everything till those boys were beaten. And they took the first boy in, and you could hear grunts and then groans, and then that turned into screams, and just, oh, God help me, Mama, you know, and just noises I'd never heard before. People in real pain, you know, and I guess you would have had to have been a person that was in war or an ambulance attendant or something like that to really hear people screaming like that. And the first boy came out, and his eyes was wide. He'd been crying. His face was chalk white. His hands was buried in his crotch, you know, and he was walking stiff. And he was in shock. Now, I didn't know what shock was at that time, you know, and that's how it went. And by the time they got to me, I was in shock from hearing this, and they just led me in there. It was like being in a dream that you couldn't stop for some reason. They took me in, and there was a army cot, an old army cot, and you placed your hands on the rails, turn your head to the side, don't let go over the rail, don't set up, don't scream, or we'll give you more, you know.
Let me stop you right there before you go any further. Your story is riveting. I just want to take a moment to caution our viewers. These are the stories and the opinions of Mr. Robert Straley and Mr. Andrew Puell, and we are talking about the Arthur G. Dozier School for Boys. But I do want to say a couple of things. These are allegations that have been made, and the latter thing that I want to make sure we put out here is that viewer discretion is advised, as their stories could be graphic to some degree and in nature. So we just want to make sure that we put that out there. And I didn't want to interrupt you, but as you're going into the story and I'm listening to the details of it, you know, we're compelled to make sure that we let our viewers know those things right off the top.
I can
you
finish
go
that
back
off pretty shortly.
Well, we're going to get you've got time. I want you to tell your story. This is your story. It's not mine.
Right.
But we need our viewers to understand that these are still under investigation. They're allegations to some degree. But please do finish. At whatever your... Yes,
Robert,
sure.
That happened to you the very first day you were there?
My first day,
oh
yes.
My, that must have been horrible.
Well, it was an eye-opener, that's for sure. And so I got down on the bed, and this one-armed man, Mr. Tidwell, started beating me. I couldn't see what he was beating me with. The first 7 or 8 licks was so hard, it knocked me down this far into the bed. And I thought, what am I being hit with? You know, a 2x4? You know, I couldn't imagine. And I was stupid enough to let go of the rail and turn around and take a quick look, and it looked like a barber strap. You know, at first was my first impression. And so immediately when I did that, they jumped on me. And I got maybe 10 more licks. I think I got 35 or 40 lashes, you know.
Your first day?
First,
Again, I mean...
First night there. hello. And then they took us back to the cottage, and we went and got in the shower, ripped our underwear off, just boxer shorts, and I went in there, took a shower, new boxer shorts, to bed. That was my first day. And I thought, oh my God, I've stepped into a beautiful hell.
Wow. We're going to get to some of your other stories because that was just your first day, but you have at least 2 more.
Yes.
Huge parts of the story that you want to tell from your personal experience, but I want to give Andrew a chance to kind of chime in with your first day. When did you first get to Dozier, and why were you there?
I vandalized my school, and it was here in Pensacola. Because it's funny, my niece the other day, she was showing me Facebook, old Warrington people, and they brought up the crime that I did almost 49 years ago. And
So what year was this?
66.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, do you ever outlive your
40 years ago.
Yeah, 49 years ago.
49 years ago.
And people are still talking about the
vandalism at the school.
I turned the fire hoses on in the school, and it flooded the school, and people were
Basically being mischievous.
it was the stupid thing to do.
How old were you?
16.
16.
Older than Robert. And it embarrassed my family, and of course having your kids sent away to a reform school. Matter of fact, the newspaper said their smirks wiped off their faces. Mariana is no bed of roses. So I mean, the community knew. I think Mariana was set up to be kind of a scared straight kind of thing. You ever see these TV
so if you knew you were going off to Mariana, whoa, you is basically what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about what happened to you on your first day there.
Well, my first day, we got there late in the afternoon, and the funny thing about the first day was they put insecticide on you to kill lice or something, and we went to Chipola Junior College to see a play that the college was putting on. I thought, well, this is interesting, going to a play at the college. But the next day was my learning curve at the school, because you're sent down to get your school, what grade you're going to be. They figure what grade you're going to be in, and then you work one day and you go to school one day, and then you go get your physical, and you get your vaccination shots. So we were told to take all our clothes off, and there was this little
black guy,
black kid, maybe 12 or 13 years old, and he became sexually excited, and the doctor walked by and grabbed his private parts and kind of giggled as he did it. The doctor, like it was a joke or something. And about 10 minutes later, the doctor came to give the boy his vaccination shots, and the boy started freaking out. And he said, the boy's saying, no, 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 and he's crouching down, and he's backing up and trying to get away from the needle and the doctor. And the doctor grabbed him up and just started slapping him, and he said, shut up, shut up, shut up. So I'm sitting there just terrified. Never been away from home before, came from a good family, and realized I have just made some serious mistakes.
And you can't go back. How long were you there?
I was only there 4.5 months. At that moment, I became just extremely focused. I said, how do I get out of here? What do I got to do to get out of this place? And I just became focused on that one thing. And to this day, I can focus on one thing like so intently, like this White House Boys thing. I've been on this since 2009. But sometimes if you give me a whole bunch of things to do, I kind of get confused. So I feel like maybe, that attribute of mine, or that's not an attribute, but that condition I have, I think it dates back to October 12th, 1966.
When you focused on that one thing, getting out of there.
Get out. How am I going to get out of here? And
well, you've been doing a lot of work, including writing a book. We're going to get to some of that in just a moment, but I want to come back to you, Robert, because as you allege, two other incidents happened to you. Some of them very graphic in nature. Just warning our viewers. Tell us a little bit more.
You're talking about the hospital. I was a hospital boy there. Now, I don't know how I got this cushy job, because it wasn't a good job. You were inside, and you'd have to go out and do work in the sun, hard work or anything like that. Your duties were just mopping the floor for like twice a day, processing new boys, which is getting urine samples and stool samples, and then they would hand you a needle, and they would fill it up, but you would be the one to give the shots. You would help the doctor set a broken leg or lance a hematoma, or do stitches. And
you were a nurse? How did you know to do it? You were taught to do this?
I was taught, yes,
Okay.
and I took to it. I mean, it seemed interesting to me. I was thinking, oh, Dr. Kildare, this is good,
Okay.
And they dressed you up. You went every day. You went into a little room and changed into hospital whites, And we did do some procedures, and it was interesting. The other boy that worked there couldn't deal with the blood. He'd faint. We had one boy that had a hematoma that was as big as my fist, and when the doctor lanced it, it went clean to the ceiling, and that was a mess to clean up, But what happened to me there that I'll never forget, it was mostly just the same old thing, day after day and so forth. But I came in one morning, and I saw a boy lying in a bed, close to the end. And as I got closer, I saw that he was shaking. He was just shaking like this, and he was crying. And I noticed that he had towels on him, and they were all blood-soaked, and I thought, oh boy. And I had seen a couple of the big boys, and I'm talking about the 16, 17-year-old boys that had gotten a bad beating, for running. When you ran, you got 100 lashes. That's serious. You're talking about a whip that weighed as much as a baseball bat. It was this thick. It was double ply with a sheet metal insert. It was this wide and probably that long. There, you had the ceiling, and they would just tick that ceiling, and it was swung overhead as hard as a man could swing it. And most of them were big men. Troy Tidwell may have had one arm, but that one arm was huge, big arm, strong, So I went up to the nurse, changed my clothes, went up to the nurse, and she said, okay, go in there and clean that boy up, and then mop the floor, and put the bloody towels in the bucket, set the bucket in the room, So I went over to him, and I got a small and thin, not very deep metal pan, and some peroxide, and I half and half that, half peroxide, half water. And I got over to him, and I kind of put my arm, and I said, I took the towels off, and he was moaning and groaning, and I said, I'm going to lift you up just a little bit and slide this tray under you, or try to, And he was young. He was maybe a year older than I weighed 105. He might have weighed 115 pounds. He had a very youthful boy's face, nice looking kid, And when I took those towels off, I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because I had never seen anybody beaten that bad. Where his skin was gone. On his buttocks was like raw hamburger meat, if you can imagine that, being red, blue, bloody, and just a mess, and it shocked me. I thought, oh my God, this could happen to you. And when I put my arm under him, and he grabbed my arm like I was his mom or God or somebody, and just wouldn't let go of it. And he shook and shook and cried. And I tried to be as gentle as I could and washed him with that and patted him with a towel. And he screamed a little bit, you know, because it hurt. And then I took Vaseline and put on him, you know, to help him heal. And then rewrapped him with the towels. But he had my arm the whole time. And I tried to ask him, "What is your name?" You know. And he just kept shaking, you know, and it was so traumatic. It even had me crying at that point, you know, because I felt so bad for this kid, and I thought all I could think of was they could do this to you, you know. I'd never seen it that bad, and so the next day I came in, it was the same thing, and the third day I came in, he was gone, and you didn't ask questions, you know, and usually boys that were beaten, got the 100 lash beating, they would put them maybe in the hospital for a little bit and doctor them up, and then they would put them up to isolation. And there was a doctor there named Dr. Souza who actually made his own medical potion by going over to the slaughterhouse, extracting red bone marrow from the cows and mixing it with something, which we believe might have been Thorazine, because the boys that drank this potion said, "Well, I don't hardly remember what happened. It was just a haze, you know." And of course, that was totally illegal. I called the FDA, Federal Food and Drug Administration, about it, you know, and they said that would have been illegal back then. You can't do that to juveniles. And so they either took him there, or if he was in deep shock, you know. I talked about this to a couple of doctors that I go to, and because I wanted to know what, you know, that was like. And they may have taken him to Chattahoochee, which is the mental hospital. It was also a hospital.
But you really don't know what
or
happened to him.
they might have killed him.
But you don't.
I don't know, because when you're there, when you're in that big of a shape with shock, when shock is that great, you know, it could either kill you or it could stay with you for a long time, and you come out of it not quite right. Well, they can't send you home like that, although they did do that, you know, to boys. So I don't know what happened to him.
A lot of what you're saying is based on what you say you witnessed and what you experienced, and some of what you say is what you believe or what you kind of speculate.
It's conjecture, yeah.
Right.
I don't know
Right.
if they did take him up to isolation. I don't really know what happened to him, you know, but it was just a dramatic and event that I'll never forget, that
Mm-hmm.
boy's face.
Mm-hmm. I see. Let me ask you this now. You know, I don't know how far you want to go with this, but you did disclose that you had the brutal beatings of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to dive a little bit or to go a little bit deeper into that, because you were talking about rape and sexual abuse that allegedly went on at Dozier. You say that allegedly happened to you.
It did, and I was actually beaten twice more by Tidwell and a pockmarked faced man who I never knew who he was. He only seemed to be there at night. And Tidwell came in and sat down on the edge of my bed and grabbed me by the arm and took me into another room and told me, "You were smoking, and if you tell me you weren't, you're going down." Well, I was going down, you know, and they beat me about 25 lashes and told me, "Hold that rail and quit crying and don't scream." And, you know, they did that twice, and that was so horrible in the middle of the night, just to have these coming and not even another boy with you for comfort, you know, being taken down by these two men that you just thought were monsters. You know, I was only 13. You know, I'd never been in a fight and never got sick, and I didn't know anything about pain, you know, let alone brutality. And then one night they came in, and all I felt was a hand around my mouth, and before I knew it, I was out of there just like that. And they put me in a car, and I thought, "Oh, here we go again. They're going to beat me again," you know. But they went to some place, and it was dark, and I couldn't see anything. And at that time, by the administration building where the White House was, it was a little bit lit up, you know. And they took me out, and they took me down a set of stairs. They had a flashlight, and they opened the key and took me in the room, you know. And that was so bad that I couldn't describe the nitty-gritty details.
I wouldn't want you to.
It's I can't even go there. My mind won't let me go there. But what I can remember is Tidwell on his knees on my back, and I could feel the little bones in my body crunching. And I thought, oh my God, they're going to kill me. And the next thing I knew, I saw the cottage lights in the distance, and they were hazy and orange colored, and were swinging back and forth, you know. And when I was deposed, I told them this to the FDLE, and a girl that was typing stopped, and she said, like you were being carried? And I said, yeah, I never thought of that, you know. And didn't realize it, but she was more than just typing. She was also a psychoanalyst of some sort. And I don't remember them taking me to bed. I remember getting up. I was very sore,
I understand.
you know, and my chest hurt, you know.
I understand. Let me say this. You've mentioned a couple of names, including Tidwell and a doctor. And I just want to say that these men have not been charged, have not been convicted of any crimes.
I was 13. I was a year over the hill.
Right. I just want to say that they are innocent, and in this conversation, it is your experience of what happened to you and what you say.
I was
but
devastated when I found out you had
Right.
to be 12 or under.
I got you.
You know, because rape of 12 and under and capital murder, that's all they get you for now.
Right.
You know, because of statute of limitations and sovereign immunity.
Right.
But Dee the FDLE did seem to go out of their way to try to discredit Robert's story.
And I don't want to do that here on the Aware Show.
No, I'm not comparing
Right.
you to that.
I got
I'm
you.
just saying, you know, the statute of limitations, like Robert mentioned, was passed on the sexual abuse and the physical abuse and everything else. But it seemed like they kind of went out of their way to even downplay the sexual abuse, like they tried to discredit the people that reported it. And, you know, people that report sexual abuse, a man to report sexual abuse, it takes a whole bunch of courage. I mean, it's a courageous thing. The guys.
Very much so. Very much so.
And I can
I wasn't
congratulate.
the only one.
Yes.
Remember Captain Nelson?
Yes.
He was a man.
Again, the names.
Yeah.
Let's just be leery of.
You know, this was a victim. This was a victim.
right,
And he got
right.
right up there, and he was a big man, you know, and working on a boat, tough guy, you could tell. And he just said, yeah, you know, I was raped there. I was 11 years old, and I
Well, there are
felt
a
like I
number-
should open my mouth about it.
There are a number of stories.
And I just thought, gosh, you know, I can't hardly even say that, you know. And I thought he was so brave to bring that out. There was something in the hospital that happened that I didn't tell you about, and that was about the guards. I went in there one day, and it was raining. It was raining hard, and I was getting soaking wet, you know. And I went in there and went into the little linen closet and stripped my wet clothes off and started putting on my hospital whites. And I hear the door open on the side. There was a side entrance, and in come two guards. They had their raincoats on and stamping their feet, and I could hear their lighters flick open, and they lit cigarettes. I was standing behind a door that was louvered. In other words, it was slats. You know, you couldn't see through it, but you could certainly hear through it. You know, you see those a lot in Florida. So I was as close as I am to you, to the man that had his back to me that was lighting up a cigarette. And he said, well, you know, that boy that ran last night, you know, I think he's going to end up in the swamp because they've really had it with him, you know. And the other guy said, yeah, he said, you know, he's being really ornery, and I don't know how many times it makes it that he's run, but he's going to end up in that swamp. He's not coming back. And they said it so casually, and I put my hand up to my mouth because I was afraid they'd hear me breathing, you know, because they knew I had heard that. That would have been the end of me, you know. And that was a very long 5 or 6 minutes or 10 minutes, however long it was, that I was just paralyzed with fear. But I knew then that these whispers and tales of throwing kids in the swamp that the kids were talking about were true, because they didn't know I was there and they were just talking.
I see.
Dee Dee, can I add something to
Absolutely,
Robert's
Andrew.
story? I've known kind of as the White House Boys researcher. I've done, and one of the research I did was I went through the student ledgers from 1937 to 1961 and wrote down every boy that escaped, all the information it had about him and his escape, and then
And you have some of that
yes,
information.
I have that here. It's well, I don't know how well people can see it at home, but there's 169 names of boys who ran away, and it supposedly successfully escaped. And so, but the only reason I could go to 1961 because juvenile records in the state of Florida are sealed for 50 years, and it's meant to protect the juveniles, you know, so they can go on, live a life and not have that record following them. But the way it's turned out is it's also protected Florida, because what happened, the thing, Robert, the two
Incidents.
guards,
Yeah, yes.
2 guards, that was 1964. And if that boy was killed and they put down in the records he ran away, well, we can't go over there and look at the ledgers until, for that's volume 9, until July the 23rd, 2016. That's 16 months away from now.
And some of them even longer, because some
yes,
of those
some of the
reportedly
ones we've heard, like a death in 1980, we can't look at that until 2034.
So it's kind of difficult, you're saying, to maybe collaborate or
Yes.
corroborate some of the
Yes.
stories, because you're unable to
Unless they
get
were
the
able to
records.
hide the boy some other way, or you know, doctor the ledgers or something, I don't know. But I would hope, like an attorney watching this program would maybe help. We don't have any money. Robert's probably out of money. I'm out of money, and we need an attorney to help us to get into these records, because I believe if there's a smoking gun, they're in the ledgers, the 60, the student ledgers. You know, a boy probably ran away, and now the FDLE would say, well, how do you know they didn't?
We can't say what they would say, but I understand
Well, no,
what you're saying.
they said this to me.
Okay.
They said, how do you know they didn't run away and change their name? And I said, well, I don't know that, you know, but I don't know how many kids are really experienced in creating a new Social Security number, a new ID, you know. I don't think many kids are really that sophisticated to create a new identity.
I gotcha. Let's quickly get back to the White House Boys, because that's what you all call your organization, and you helped to establish it. The White House being what you all say was the torture chamber. Tell us more about the organization that you've established under that name, and what you've been doing now since.
Well, it happened in the strangest way. I got a call from a former secretary and #1 girl on the road. I had a road business, and Monica Smucker lives in Indiana. And we were talking, and we talked about the Martin Anderson case. That was a black boy that went into a boot camp in the morning, came out dead in the afternoon. And he actually was given a lethal dose of ammonia. And they had 4 guards and a nurse standing over him. You probably have heard of that story. And they went to court, and nothing happened, you know. And I blurted out, I said, you know, Monica, I was in a place like that.
So you wanted to start an organization.
I went ahead and told her about it, and she said, well, you got to do something. Okay. And I said, you know, Monica, it was 50 years ago. Well, that wasn't good enough for her. She Googles up Roger Kaiser, the very next day, and there's a picture of the White House and a description of Roger Kaiser's beating and his email address. I looked at that and I...
So what was your motivation behind actually starting, or you all starting the White House
Well,
Boys?
we first had to meet, and once we did, we had to ask each other. I said, do you think they're still doing this? Did you ever hear about them stopping? No, you know. So we decided we would, the newspaper, we would go to the press on this. It had to be more than just me and him. I said, you know, this place has been open 100 years. There's got to be a trail of evidence somewhere. And we started searching. We went to the Florida Archives, the Florida Memory Collection, the Florida Criminal Archives, and we found that there was a huge, long list of people, clean back to their very first inspection in 1903, when they found boys as young as 8 in step chains that had to do a man's work in the field. If he didn't, he was thrown down and beaten brutally and
I want to get to
unnecessarily.
some of that, and we're going to run down
Yeah.
on time here if we don't quickly move along here. So
Okay.
I don't mean to be rude to you, but there's so much to talk about.
There is.
And if we don't move along, we're going to miss some of it. So you decided that you wanted to do something to help be a voice for, of course, victims.
Yes, we wanted to get it to the paper,
had been,
and we got it. Michael O. McCarthy happened to be a journalist and got our letter,
Okay.
took it to Carol Marvin Miller. She researched it.
okay. Have you been back to Mariana since?
Yes,
any of this?
6 times.
Okay. And what's your first impression when you went back?
Well, the very first thing is when we went during what they called the sealing of the White House ceremony, when Carol Marvin Miller broke her story.
Okay. How did you feel?
It was a
what that?
surrealistic
And
day.
how about you, Andrew?
I went back and I took a video camera because I was going to go over to do some research, and I went on the campus with a video camera and went into one of the old cottages, the ones I thought I was in, and I wanted to videotape myself I wanted to see what my emotions was going to be like. I started hyperventilating, and it was like something. All these memories were coming back, and it was quite have you ever seen that video, Robert?
I think so, yeah.
It was an interesting, I just wanted to record my own emotions.
I see. You call yourselves the White House Boys, and I get that from what I've researched and in talking to you all, but you also say that what you believe happened to black boys who were there was even worse.
Absolutely. They did all the grunt work. They were on the side where all the cattle had to be slaughtered and taken care of, they had all the chickens and all of the crops, you know, and all of the work. That was hard in the sun, in the fields, you know, whereas on the other side we had the radio shop and the bricklaying shop and electronics shop and this, that, and the other, you know, where you could actually learn a little something. Unless you wanted to be a farmer, you know, you really weren't going to learn much over there.
I see.
And they were beaten pretty badly as well.
From what you've heard.
Yes.
And I understand that the school was desegregated in
Yes,
the late
back then.
1960s and that sort of thing. Let me kind of go here with this now. You say being in Mariana at that time was how involved do you all believe people who lived near the school, what do you think they knew about? Do you think they were aware of what was
they
going
were
on?
more than
or
aware.
Had they, or do you believe, how would you know that? You
Well,
can't just
we know
say
it. We know it in several different ways. They encircled that town in a ring of silence. You did not, this is what well, 3 ladies told me the same thing, calling in and talking to me. They said, you don't talk about the boys or what happened to them to strangers, because if you did, your barn could get burnt, your cattle could be poisoned, or you might get hit in the head by a hunter's stray bullet. And she said, by the way, that's the word out today. And whenever a boy ran, they went boy hunting. The farmers jumped in their trucks and took off, you know, and these boys never really had a chance. What they saw woods, and they thought they would run all night, but they were going to have to run across roads and across railroad tracks, and these men would just be sitting there in their trucks with their lights out waiting on them, and then they'd catch them, you know. And one man, Calvin Creamer, made a statement that chilled my blood and everybody else that's ever heard it. There was a place worse than the White House, and it was in the piney woods of Florida. He said, quote, "Back then it was torture for the boys. They were mean men to begin with. When they caught them, they'd strip them and tie them over 55-gallon steel drums bare naked, and then they'd beat them, and the police didn't care either." And I thought to myself, trying to imagine being stripped naked with a bunch of big rough farmers, and that was bad. But what was really bad, and I didn't think about it for days later, we had the luxury of being knocked down a foot into that bed. We had a mattress and springs absorbing some of the blows. These boys were beaten against steel, naked. They would not have gotten out of there without permanent damage or death. I will believe that. I stand behind that. They can call me a liar all day long, but I believe that.
You also believe that people may have turned a blind eye to some of this because
They did.
because you allege they benefited from what was going on.
If you didn't work there, you had a relative that worked there. We're talking about a small town, and this employed 160 people. And yes, there was people that quit over the beatings. You know, there were people that objected to it. The rest, you know, jobs were scarce. You were going to do that, or you were going to find yourself out in the fields under the hot sun picking some farmer's produce. And so people put up with it, you know. I know that Elmore Bryant made and he was a former mayor, he made a statement late. The last thing he said really bothered me. He said, a lot of bad things happened to the boys and to the staff there as well. People are afraid. And I thought, what did they do to the staff? You know.
You believe the people who are, and you can chime in as well, Andrew, you all believe that some of the residents in Marianna benefited financially.
Yes, absolutely. They were skimming off that farm. I've seen some reports, and when I look at them and I look at the figures, they don't look right to me. You're talking about a 1,000-acre farm that made millions of dollars. You know, they put out produce by the ton. They had
and back
beef.
then, that's a lot of money, $1 million.
Yes,
Yeah.
They had beef, they had pigs, they had lumber, they had every kind of produce you could think of, sugar cane, you know, gosh, they had everything going that they could get. A brick plant that spewed out 20,000 bricks a day, you know, and this was all done by the labor. And they actually changed the law back around 1907. Judge Milton changed the law to where they could send you up there on an indeterminate sentence to be approved by the men that ran the school. In other words, they could keep you there as long as they wanted to, and they could also pick boys up for smaller things like incorrigible, truancy, shoplifting, you know, small crimes. They'd send them up there because they had this great farm going, but they needed a lot of labor.
Including
and this started back in
plantations,
2007, or I'm sorry, 1907, you know. By 1915 or 1918, that farm was really cranking it out. And it continued to do that because they had the men up there to do it. One man called me, he was a black guy, an old man, and he said, you know, I got picked up for truancy. And I said, how long were you there? And he said, 5 years. And I said, did they beat you? And he said, yeah. He said, I never could understand why they beat me like they did because I never stole nothing. Mm-hmm. And I thought, how sad.
Well, you all, and I guess, and I'm saying that because it's your experience and your stories, but it's been told by others that some of the boys who were there were not necessarily wayward boys. They were boys who were orphaned. So
Yes.
just not having
Just
family.
didn't have no family that wanted them.
There was a man that made a comment about there were no orphans there. There were no boys for truancy. These were all the worst of the worst, you know. And I thought, baloney, this has got to be a way to prove that. And I went into the archives again, and it took me a week, and I found a set of photographs that a man had taken over a decade, 47 photographs, and I counted 170 boys under 12, and I realized how many boys are not in the picture? Then I found some other evidence that, and we learned that they had thousands of boys up there, little boys. I'm talking about 5, 6 years old, up 7, 8 years old. You got pictures of them. You know, the man has pictures of them. They're right on my web page. You look at them and they're like little 5 or 6 year old boys. What did they do to get up there? How did they get there? How did they get out? You know, and anybody could go up there and parole a boy out just by signing his name.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, you know, and that bothers me greatly to think of the amount of little boys they had.
I interviewed one guy for my book, and he was from the city of Marianna, and him and his brother, the little brother didn't get sent to Marianna, but he got sent to Marianna. You know what his crime was? They took 2 Coca-Colas off the back of a truck, and he ended up spending 5 years in Marianna, you know, for stealing a Coca-Cola. And he was also sexually molested by a staff member, and he was under 12. So there's no statute of limitations on that crime, but they didn't really, they said this happened in '52. So they said the perpetrator's probably dead. But they didn't really look to see if he was really dead, because I found a bunch of information on, because he gave the FDLE the last name of the man, and I found him in the Yellow Jacket. The Yellow Jacket is the newspaper from the school.
You've been also doing a lot of other research, because amongst your papers there you have names that have different colors, and you've done a whole schematic, and so you've been doing some research. Tell us about what you have
Well,
there.
I'm trying to find this list of runaway boys, if they survived, you know, past the date of their escape. And I usually do most of my research up here on College Boulevard, 9th Avenue at the Genealogy Library. And you can see I color code them. If it's green or orange, green is they definitely survived. I found a Social Security death index, or I found they got married or they went into the military.
So you would give them colors based on your research and the categories for your own little schematics there. But I just wanted to bring that up because obviously you've been doing a great deal of research.
It's very tedious. It's extremely tedious work.
You both have written books. Tell us a little bit about, you've been telling us about your books with your stories and with those of those who are not here to tell theirs. You obviously were inspired to put these in book form. Tell us about your books.
Well, the book I wrote with Roger Kaiser, one of the 4 original White House boys. This is kind of a rebuttal to the FDLE's report. The first thing that made me want to write it was I didn't like the way what I reported, how they reported it. Like, you know, I told you about the doctor grabbing the boy's private parts. Well, they didn't even put that in my statement. When I told it to the FDLE said, well, that could be, the doctor could always claim that was just part of the examination.
I gotcha.
And then I didn't like the way they treated Robert, and I didn't like the way they treated Roger.
Right. Well, we don't have any members of the FDLE here to talk about
well,
this, but I will say that this is ongoing investigation that's going on here. Robert, tell us about your books.
Our book, and this is Boys of the Dark, story of betrayal and redemption in the Deep South. Robin Gabby Fisher is a Pulitzer Prize winning reporter, and she quit and started in writing, and she's read several books. This is seen through the eyes of me and Michael O. McCarthy. Okay. We couldn't mention Roger because he had a book out, see. And what this book talks about is from the day that we met to how we met, how he got the story to Carol Marvin Miller, how they had the sealing of the White House ceremony where they apologized. They had a plaque. We got there's 50, 60 people in front of the White House. The state of Florida.
Okay. I just
well,
wanted
I'm
to-
sorry,
to-
it was the DJJ,
Okay.
Department of Juvenile Justice, brought us up there. They knew a storm was coming. The story had broke. And they brought us up there. We had a ceremony. They unveiled a plaque. We acknowledged the tribulations of the boys. They planted a tree, and for their suffering, they let us go through the White House. And the last thing they did was take us over to the 31
The White
unmarked
House,
graves.
as in the White House at the
Yes,
school?
they opened it up, and you could hear them say, oh my God, it must be true, you know, because the place looks like a torture chamber. And that's exactly what they were doing in there. And then the last thing they did is they took us over to the 31 unmarked graves on the black side. Now, when we left, Mary Zansky, the superintendent that had been so nice to us, had to step down. Gus Barrero was fired. They tried to ruin him politically, you know. And that was when the last thing that we did was Michael stood on the steps of Tallahassee and asked the governor for the investigation. And that was it.
And I understand former Governor Charlie Crist was very
that's right.
instrumental. Instrumental in getting this going, and also Senator Bill Nelson has
Bill Nelson
stepped
wants
in.
the DOJ to step in, and I agree with him totally.
Okay.
Because when they do, they can show up at somebody's house with their badge and say, "We'd like to talk to you,
Right.
former
Let
employee."
me say this. Several bodies have been discovered, as we know, with the exhumation of graves on the property and that sort of thing. They have discovered several bodies, and that's been ongoing.
24.
Many more than what
24
was,
more than the FDLE said that 31. This was the only graveyard. There are no more graves. Yada yada yada. And Kimberly, Professor Aaron Kimberly, found them in a week and a half after the USF got their permit to go in and inspect the cemetery. Because when they closed Dozier, it became a historic cemetery. And she went in and found it, and found there wasn't 31 bodies under there. They were all in a woods, hidden from sight, totally.
and that too is ongoing investigation.
That is ongoing, the one that really just, to me, is the last straw is there was a boy up in Pennsylvania that she felt had been murdered. And she went up there and talked to the family and asked if she could exhume the body. And it was a small town. Everybody was there, from the mayor to the fire chief to the police chief. They brought the casket up, or they dug down to it. She opened the lid. There was no body in there. There was just boards weighted down, right? And she took every board out because some of the remains there was nothing but teeth and jawbone, you know, in the cemetery that she'd found, Boot Hill as they call it. And she took every board out. There was nothing there. She even took the bottom out down to where somebody's grandmother was buried. They buried the boy on top of the grandmother. So, you know, the boards and the coffin hardware matched exactly to the coffins that they had found in the Boot Hill Cemetery.
But no body.
No body.
I see. Where are you all, the two of you and your organization, the White House Boys? Where do you want to see all this go in just a few minutes? Because we're getting ready to wind down here with about 3 minutes left. Where does all of your work go? Because you've been at this for decades.
I want Professor Aaron Kimberly to wrap it up. You know, she is a brilliant woman, and with she has 10 pages of credentials. And she will wrap it up in a way that the story is told. She'll put an ending to it, and that will be it, you know. And this 7-year thing has gotten to be just torturous for us will end.
And what are you hoping will come from this, Andrew?
I'm hoping that, I think it's been proved without a shadow of a doubt that Florida was negligent in the running of that reform school. And I think the men should be compensated. And Robert told me that we've already had 80 White House boys die since this has started. I know several of them right now that have cancer. Many of them are living in poverty. And I think they should be compensated. I think Florida should do the right thing and just compensate these men for the treatment they received when they were supposed to be being reformed. I would like to say one story. One boy I interviewed, well, a man I interviewed, he was beat in the White House, and he got back to his hometown, and he actually planned on going back with this other boy that had been beaten in the White House and murdering the people that abused him. There's something wrong with the reform school that turns teenage boys into having thoughts of murder.
And there are stories of some of the products of this school going on to have a number of aggressive types of behavior
Burned through
and
generations.
issues and that
One
sort
woman
of thing.
called me, and she says, I now know why my husband beat me and my daughter so badly. And I said, oh, your husband was at Mariana? And she said, no, his father was. This was like throwing a rock in a pond. It just burned through generations, you know.
Well, on your website, there are several stories of gentlemen who ended up either incarcerated, kicked out of the military, or a number of other aggressive
end up
issues.
with
Andrew?
rage.
Excuse me, Andrew.
Dee Dee, those two boys went into the military instead of going up and murdering their abusers. So it turned out to be a good story.
I'm glad you finished that, and I'm sorry for interrupting, but I'm really trying to get you guys to,
Okay.
to
Wrap it up.
kind of, no, not necessarily wrap it up, but utilize the time that we have, because an hour has gone by so quickly.
That was quick.
I will give you an opportunity to have a closing comment before. I think we have about a minute and a half left.
I think Andrew is right. I think they should give some compensation to those boys because they really were damaged for life. They were left with rage problems. Those beatings left you with anger problems, if not rage. And an apology from the governor, and put this behind us, and let it be a lesson that when you hand unlimited power and a whip to anybody, it's not going to turn out right.
All right. Andrew, final words.
Well, one thing I would like to say is when I interviewed the boys, I had a lot of anger in me, and I can see the anger in my writing, but I would like to say that I believe the FDLE is an honest organization and honest lawmen. I think they did the best that they could do under very difficult circumstances.
Okay, thank you very much. And again, these were the stories of Robert Straley and Andrew Pugh. Courageous you are to come here and be on the Aware Show and talk with us, and we so appreciate it very much. We still say these are your stories and your views and your opinions. They don't reflect those of this station or those of anyone who put this show together, but we certainly wanted you to have a voice and a forum to tell your stories. Thank you once again for being here. If you would like more information about this particular organization, the White House Boys, we are providing that information there on your screen, and you can contact the organization here that these two men represent to get in touch with them, share your stories, or find out how you can support them in their efforts. Again, we thank them for being here, and we thank you for being there. That's all the time we have for now. I'm Dee Dee Sharp saying, be sure to join us for part 2 of our continuing story on Dozier. We do plan to follow this up. Until next time, stay informed and stay aware.